Getting Started with Radio Communications by Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR 446.
Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. Out there. Or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR 446. So, I've got the video editor on in the background, so you can probably hear that, because as soon as I've finished filming this, it's getting edited and uploaded to YouTube. So, this one's about getting started in radio communications. Basically, what do you want to do regarding? If there's a few of you walking around the countryside together as a group, you can opt out for the PMR 446 walkie-talkies. They're very cheap to obtain. You can actually buy them on the high street. One store that I know that sells them on the high street is Argos. So that will either be a separate shop or incorporated into the back of your local Sainsbury's if it's a large store. So you can get them from there if they have them in stock. And they're just little walkie-talkies like that. Antenna, you can't take that off. And you have about 8 to 16 channels. So there's plenty of space if you're in a quiet area. Although at the top of a hill the range would be quite significant, but in a built-up area it wouldn't be that great. So if there's a few of you in a convoy of cars, then the next option would be the CB radio. Now this is a very basic set. You can keep one of these in your car all the time. I'm not sure if you can see it. That one's the TTI TCB 550. That's one of the most basic CB radios you can get. There's a 555 with a USB port, and all you've got your volume control, squelch control, which all that does is cuts the background noise out, so when there's no transmission being received, and channel change buttons, an emergency button for channel 9, although that seldomly is monitored in this country, and also channel 19, which is supposed to be the calling channel, but on the UK band it tends to be full of idiots in major cities. There's a scan function. It also has an AM/FM button on it, but that doesn't work with the radio in UK mode, which is a little bit annoying that some radios are still made that way, despite the fact that we're actually allowed to use AM on the CEPT channels. But the main channels that you'll be the main channels you'll find of interest would be the UK channels. There's 40 channels there because a lot of older UK only CB radios are still available to buy. So that radio is probably about £60. You can get handheld versions of CBs, but these are a little bit more expensive and they do go through batteries quite quickly. So that's something to watch for. So you get your CB radio, the radio, a microphone. Some have buttons on them. This one only has this button. And a bracket to mount it in the car, and a power cable, usually with a fuse in it, and sometimes with a cigarette lighter plug on it. The Thunderbolt T800 is a good choice if you want a radio that's already got a cigarette lighter plug fitted to it, because I believe that one comes with one. So you don't get an antenna with it. That's usually separate purchase unless you buy a kit. Now, the antenna can go on the roof of your car one of two ways, but to get started quickly, the best way to do it is using a large magnetic mount which the antenna screws into, and then you plug the cable on the magnetic mount into the back of the radio. There is one other little thing you should buy when you buy a CB radio, and that's one of these, an SWR meter. I've got a video on how to check your SWR on this channel, and if you search on the internet you'll find out how to do it. And a small patch cable, something a bit like that. That'll only add a few pounds more to the order, but it would be worthwhile investment to make sure you get the best range out of your CB radio in your car or even in your house. But in a house installation you need a couple of extra items. First of all is going to be a suitable power supply, and access to the mains. With that, the idea is it turns the mains electricity into the 12 volts the CB radio needs, and you may also need something to get the cable outside the house if you can't drill a hole in the wall, and you'll also need planning permission for the large antenna, and if you can't get that, there are compromise antennas available. But we'll focus on mobile installations here. So it's a magnetic mount, which is the quickest way of doing it. The most popular antenna for mobile use is the Orbiter Springer styles. There is an owner of a Land Rover Discovery on the next street from me who has the mini version of the Springer style antenna. I've got the full size version. So they're good in the 4x4 world, where if you're doing green laning, so you can just keep in touch with your fellow off-roaders. I can actually demonstrate that. Something like that. Right, there's a third way into radio if you really want to jump in at the deep end, and that's amateur radio. And the cheapest way to get started on the amateur radio bands, once you've passed your exam, is with one of these. This is a Baofeng UV5R. Well, this one's actually a UV5RC Plus, which I've had for a few years. I bought that from Macklin, as it turns out. They're cheap and they're easy to use on the amateur radio 2 metre and 70 centimetre bands. They generally may need programming up, but they will transmit on frequencies outside of those bands as well, so you've just got to be careful there. But once you've taken the exam, that shouldn't be a problem. And I know a lot of people go out and buy these. This is a Baofeng BF888. Now, what some people do is they buy these not realising that they're programmed on frequencies that they're not allowed to use, some of which could be safety of life frequencies. And that can cause all sorts of problems, including fines resulting in confiscation of equipment as well, and if you're really unfortunate, jail time. So if you see these advertised, you either don't buy them at all, or you can, at your own risk, program these for PMR 446, but otherwise the BF888s aren't really legal for use unless you've got the appropriate license. I do, so that's not a problem for me. So, as I said, so I'll just go over the three options again. So if you're walking around in the countryside or something like that, PMR 446 is a good choice, because you just turn the radio on and it's ready to go. So, and some of them have a little rudder bleep on them as well. So you just turn it on, set your channel, and you're ready to go. If you're in a car and you want to be kept up to date with traffic reports from lorry drivers, chat to other motorists on the road, or even a group of you can install these in your car, I would recommend the CB radio. There's 80 channels in total, 40 UK, 40 European, to choose from. The antenna's on the outside of the car. The range is usually pretty good depending on the antenna, but sometimes you can't justify having a large antenna on the roof of your car. I know I do, but not everybody wants an antenna that size, so sometimes a compromise has to be made, and the Springer style and the mini Springer styles are two of the choices you can go for there. And the quickest way to get on the air with one of those is a magnetic mount in the middle of the roof of the car. It just sticks to the steel body, and then all you've got to do is follow the tuning guide for the antenna, and away you go. And you only need a basic radio, Thunderpole T800, Moonraker Minor 2 Plus, which is exactly the same thing, and TTI TCB 550, or, well, there's the end version of that now, which isn't actually as good. The 555, which has a USB port in it, and there's a couple of other very basic sets as well that you can choose from. And you can buy some of these things in a pack from some retailers, but if you're not certain on what you need, just look on the internet for CB radio sellers, and they'll all come up, and you can speak to each company and they can give you an idea of the sort of thing you need. Although if you're really getting started, I will put a link to suitable equipment in the description below. So But if you want to go for the amateur radio license, the foundation, you can buy one of these. You can get these online, relatively cheap. And then what you can do is you can just take the exam, which you've got to pay for the exam as well, unfortunately, and that gives you access to bands. Bear in mind, you can't use amateur radio for any commercial purposes. You can use PMR 446 and CB radio in a commercial environment, though. That's absolutely fine. You can use amateur for your hobby exclusively. You can't use it for business purposes. PMR 446 can be used for business purposes, and so can CB radio. So you can use it, CB radio and PMR 446 as part of your job. Some truckers actually do, because there's a lot of wide load escort vans equipped with CB radios for escorting the trucks that have the really abnormal loads on the back. So that's a good example of that. You can see them quite a lot. So business use on 446 and CB is perfectly fine. Now CB radios will vary in price and complexity. So that one's got quite a few more features on it and cost in the region of about £200. New, it's not made anymore, sadly. These handheld ones, they're around about anything up to about £130, maybe a little bit more than that. PMR 446 radios, you can get 2 of them for as little as £30. So, but they're ideal for more outdoor use. You can't really do it car-to-car comms because you can't take the antenna off and put an antenna on the roof of the car. That can't be done, unfortunately. You can do that with CB though, so that's the better choice for car-to-car communications or anything really. So I hope that covers it really. So I do have a CB in my car. It's Thunderpole T3000, as you will know. I also have an amateur radio set up in my car for 2 meters and 70 centimeters with a Yaesu FTM 400 XDE, which retails at about £500, I think it is. So that's really something for when you have been in the hobby long enough. The Thunderpole T3000's about £100. And that's quite a nice compact CB radio. But to get started, the TTR TCB 550, because it's got very little on it, nothing really in the way of menus to get to certain settings. You just set it up and forget really with that one. There's the other small radios as well. The only thing you need to bear in mind is they may need setting up for the UK. They usually come with instructions on how to do that, so that's not really a problem. And the antenna, just put it as close to the centre of the roof as you possibly can get away with. It's just really straightforward. And if you're operating home base, you will need a cable for the antenna. So, but as I say, we're covering mobile in this video. So, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. I also put a link to the Ofcom document OF364. The reason I'm going to do that is there's a lot of second-hand gear on the market and a lot of it may not be legal to use on the Citizens Band. So that gives you what you should be looking for to make sure your equipment is legal. Although you can find that information on the internet anyway. So I've pretty much covered all the subjects that I need to cover. I will put links in for various items that you will buy, that you can start off with, and we'll go from there. So this is Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR 446. Or if you want to be old school on the CB and use handles, you can just refer to me as the red squirrel on there. Right, so that's 7.3 for now, and I hope to hear you on the air very soon. and go out there and get your radios. The more people that are on the radio, the better it'll be. 7-3 for now.
Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to be notified of new videos as I upload them. 73 is from Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 on 11 metres and PMR 446.